Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station, coming to you from the Nelson and Tasman region. In today's news, police release Rising Sun CCTV footage, drugs, firearms recovered in police operation, investigation into death at Wairau complete, quad bike rider fined for not using helmet, and quest for the best young musos this Friday. Police investigating a fire at the Rising Sun Hotel are seeking assistance from the public to identify a man seen on CCTV footage in the vicinity of the fire. Police and fire service investigators believe the fire in the early hours of Monday the 14th of April was deliberately lit. Police are appealing to anyone who recognises this man to come forward as they believe he may be able to assist with the investigation. Anyone with information should contact Detective Sergeant Mark Caveney or Detective Neil Kitchen at Nelson Police on 5463 3840. Information can also be given anonymously by calling Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. 4 people have been charged following a large police operation in the Buller area of the Tasman Police District on Wednesday this week. Search warrants were executed at 5 properties, and as a result 4 people are facing drugs and firearms charges. Up to 18 kgs of dried cannabis head was recovered at an Anangahua address, along with plants still in the drying process. 2 sawn-off shotguns, a cut-down .22 rifle, an AK-47 and a .303 rifle, plus ammunition were also found at that address. A 50-year-old Anangahua man has been charged with possession of cannabis for supply and unlawful possession of firearms. A 44-year-old Upper Moutere man has also been charged with possession of Class A drug methamphetamine. Meanwhile, a 26-year-old Anangahua man has been charged with possession of Class A drug methamphetamine, possession of Class B drug cannabis oil, cultivation of cannabis and possession of cannabis plant. And a 29-year-old Marahau man has been charged with cultivating cannabis, possession of cannabis for supply and theft of electricity after a substantial indoor growing operation was located at a rented property in Reefton. Police also recovered 8 mature plants and 283 grams of dried cannabis and $7,000 cash at the address. Operation Commander Detective Sergeant Chris Roberts says he has no doubt that Wednesday's operation had disrupted the supply of cannabis in our district and further afield. He says he hopes this sends a clear message to those engaging in drug activity that they won't go unnoticed just because they're in a rural location. He says our district is not a soft option. The Asthma Foundation is strongly advising people with respiratory illnesses to try and stay out of hospital this winter by asking their doctor or nurse about a free influenza vaccination. Medical Director of the Asthma Foundation, Dr. Kyle Perrin, says the flu season will be kicking in soon and it's important for people with respiratory conditions to get their free flu vaccines this winter. Last year, over 1 million New Zealanders had a flu vaccination, around 23% of the population. The flu vaccine is free for children under the age of 5 with significant respiratory illnesses, people with chronic health conditions, people with respiratory conditions, people with asthma who use a preventer, and everyone 65 years and over. Chrissy Small took to the streets of Nelson to ask people if they were keen to get the jab.
Excuse me, do you get flu jabs?
No, I don't. I never have.
Right. Any particular reason?
I've heard from a lot of people that it's not that effective.
Never had a flu shot yet.
Any particular reason why?
No, I don't get crook.
It works for me.
Yeah. Great.
No, I haven't.
Would you ever want one?
I don't know much about them.
I did last year because I was pregnant, but I've been advised not to bother.
Okay. By anyone in particular, a health professional?
Yeah, health professional. So if you're a small child or an elderly or susceptible to viral infections, if you're a healthy adult, then there's no need. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and generally not into the whole immunising concept.
Okay, fair enough.
Had one probably about 6 years ago and got sick straight after it, so put me off.
Yep.
Don't know what's in it.
Right.
So I'll pass on that. Don't trust them.
Okay, fair enough.
As a biologist from way back, I like to keep my immune system really nice and active. And Yeah, I don't need them at this stage.
No.
Perhaps when another 20 years when I get older.
A Marlborough man was sentenced this week in the Nelson District Court on 2 charges under the Health and Safety Employment Act. Herd manager Rangi Holmes was fined $15,000 for not wearing a helmet while riding a quad bike at work and for carrying a helmetless child as a passenger. The charges Mr Holmes is facing relate to failing to take all practicable steps to ensure his own safety and that of his passenger. It's believed to be the first time someone has been convicted for carrying a passenger on a work quad bike. WorkSafe New Zealand took the prosecution after inspectors repeatedly saw Mr Holmes riding a quad bike in the Rye Valley while carrying children without a helmet in sight. Over the 20 months from February 2012, 5 such incidents were observed. The police investigation into the death of a patient while undergoing surgery at Wairau Hospital in May 2012 has been completed. The investigation file had been independently reviewed by the Tasman Crown Solicitor, who has concluded that the evidence gathered doesn't reach the threshold for prosecution and no charges will be laid. The matter has now been referred back to the coroner. Police would like to thank those who contributed to what has been a lengthy and thorough investigation. Although Thursday's budget announcement had not been made at the time this bulletin was recorded, there were some clear indications around who might benefit from the government's first surplus in many years. Prime Minister John Key hinted at the possibility that due to the budget surpluses, the government could promise tax cuts in the campaign in the upcoming election. Prime Minister John Key had suggested middle-income earners who pay a fair amount of tax don't get a lot in return. Meanwhile, other likely outcomes in the budget included more money for teachers, more money to boost supply of social housing and affordable homes, and an additional $100 million for the Defence Force. Paid parental leave is also likely to be extended. A Stuff poll on Thursday morning showed voters felt poorest New Zealanders were hurting the most under the existing government and the rich were benefiting the most. Mainland reported on Wednesday social agencies in Nelson such as Food Bank were seeing an upsurge of people requiring assistance with basic needs. The Food Bank reported a peak in November 2013 of food parcels distributed and then a steady demand since January 2014. And finally, on a music theme, this Friday is the Quest for the Best. Rock West is New Zealand's only nationwide live, all-original youth music competition that will be putting an expected 3,000 young people through regional heats and finals in 24 towns from Invercargill to Kerikeri between now and the beginning of August. Bands and solo duo performers from local colleges, from Nelson through to Motueka, will be playing off at the Theatre Royal this week for a place in the regional finals on the following Friday in an attempt to win a place in the national finals. Chrissy Small spoke to organiser Glenn Common about the history of the event and the entrants for this year's competition, who for many this will be their first time on stage in front of an audience.
I'm here today with Glenn Common, who is the organiser and co-founder of Rock Quest, now in its 26th year. Gosh, so that's a lot of years. Did you imagine it would be going for so long when you first began this whole concept?
No, we had no idea. When we first started, it was a one-off event in Christchurch. We thought we'd give it a go and see what happened, but we knew from the moment doors opened that there was something happening. We had kids queued down the street. We had over 1,000 kids turn up for that first one. The next year we did 5 regions around the country, and it's grown now to 25 regions, and it still just keeps going. We've got just on a record number of bands already this year, and there's still more coming in.
You must be quite proud of the achievements of some of the previous year's winners. I mean, there's a long list of fantastic names out there that are doing so well in music.
Yes, there is a little bit of pride there. It's not just the national winners either. There's a lot of other musicians who've come through it. It's been a pathway to something great for them. Although there are a lot of national winners who are still doing well, the likes of Die 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 and guys from the Peasants now doing the Broods. It's that whole number of musicians that are getting to that level that's what I'm really proud of. We've got hundreds of them out there, and it's just brilliant that they'll keep carrying on and keep achieving both nationally and internationally.
Greg, you've got a few different categories which you've brought in, since the last Rock Quest. Can you tell me a bit about why you've done that?
Yeah, the only change really is we've now got a separate category for solos and duos. We found that the feedback we're getting mainly from those people who are judging them is that the skills that were being presented on stage by those playing as solo and duo were quite different from the skills that they were assessing when bands were performing. And the suggestion was it would make more sense to be comparing bands with bands and the solo duos with solo duos. We tried it last year and that worked pretty well. Approximately a third of the entries up and down the country are solo duos.
Right. So we have the RockQuest Nelson Heats on Friday at the Theatre Royal, which is open to the public, I believe.
Yes, it is. Yep. Now, there are $10 tickets available for that one. And then a week later, the following Friday, we have the regional final, also in the Theatre Royal. It's a beautiful building. Why wouldn't you use it every time you can?
So now, how many groups and solo artists have we got in this year's competition, just for locally?
Locally, it's just on 30, I believe, and about 7 of those are solo duos, and the rest of them are bands. Nationwide, we've passed 650 bands as of last weekend, and that number is still climbing. I think the record we've ever had is about 703, and I suspect we're going to get pretty close to that again this year.
Now, Greg, Nelson, as far as talent goes, how does it rate amongst the rest of the country?
Well, very highly. In the last 3 years, we've had 2 national winners out of this region. I think that's a fair indication. There have been national winners out of here as early as 1992. It is a strong region. I think the fact that the music staff are doing so much working with these kids, getting them prepared, is significant. We're really only there for them a couple of days a year. It's the teachers who are working with them week in, week out.
All right, so the doors open on Friday at what time?
We start selling from 6:30. The show will start at 7 p.m, finishing at around 10.
After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.